The morning sun peeked through the blinds as Lisa Harrison's alarm clock jolted her awake at 4:30 a.m. After 15 years as a flight attendant for Atlantic Airways, early mornings had become second nature, but that didn't make them any easier. She reached over to silence the buzzing sound before it woke her husband, Tom, who had another 3 hours before his alarm would go off. Lisa slipped out of bed and padded quietly to the bathroom. In the harsh fluorescent light, she studied her reflection. At 42, the job was starting to take its toll. The constant time zone changes, recycled airplane air, and long hours on her feet had etched fine lines around her eyes. She splashed cold water on her face and began her routine. Applying makeup with practiced precision, pulling her dark hair into the tight regulation bun required by Atlantic Airways. Another day, another flight, she whispered to herself, a mantra she'd repeated countless times over her career. By 5:15 a.m., Lisa was dressed in her crisp navy uniform, gold wings pinned perfectly to her lapel. She grabbed her roller bag, packed the night before, and slipped a travel mug of coffee into the side pocket. Tom was still sleeping soundly as she leaned down to kiss his forehead before heading out the door. The drive to JFK International Airport was quiet this early in the morning. Lisa used the time to mentally prepare for the day ahead. A 6-hour flight from New York to Los Angeles, a quick turnaround, and then back to New York. A challenging day, but not unusual in her line of work. The radio played softly in the background as traffic reports announced delays that wouldn't affect her pre-dawn commute. At the airport, Lisa made her way through employee security with practiced ease. Fellow crew members nodded in greeting as they converged in the staff room for the pre-flight briefing. Lisa spotted her friend Denise, another veteran flight attendant, and slid into the seat next to her. "Good morning. Ready for another cross-country?" Denise asked, stifling a yawn. "As ready as I'll ever be," Lisa replied, checking her watch. "Looks like we're flying with Captain Reynolds today." "Oh, he's good. Smooth landings, and he doesn't talk your ear off during meal service," Denise said with approval. The briefing began promptly at 6:15 a.m. The head flight attendant, Patricia Rodriguez, a stern but fair woman in her 50s, went through the usual information: flight time, weather conditions, passenger count, and any special situations they needed to be aware of. "We have a full flight today, 245 passengers," Patricia announced, scrolling through her tablet. 8 passengers with mobility issues, 12 children under 10, and 17 special meal requests. Make sure you check your zones carefully for those special meals. Lisa nodded, making a mental note. Special meal requests always added an extra layer of complexity to the service, especially on a full flight. She'd been written up once, 3 years ago, for mixing up a kosher meal with a regular one, and she had no intention of repeating that mistake. By 7 a.m., the crew was aboard the Boeing 777 preparing the cabin for the 8:30 a.m. departure. Lisa worked methodically through her zone, checking seatbelts, overhead bins, and safety equipment. The familiar routine was comforting, each task ingrained in her muscle memory after thousands of flights. "Lisa, can you double-check the special meals in the galley?" Patricia called from the front of the plane. "We've got quite a few today, and I want to make sure they're all accounted for." "On it," Lisa replied, making her way to the galley. The catering cart had arrived, and Lisa meticulously went through each special meal, checking it against the list on her tablet. Vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, diabetic-friendly, low-sodium, kosher, halal. Each meal was labeled and stored separately. One meal caught her attention: a low-sodium soft food option requested by a passenger in first class, seat 3C. Such specific requests often meant medical necessity rather than preference. As passengers began boarding at 7:45 a.m., Lisa took her position at the door, greeting each person with a practiced smile. "Good morning, welcome aboard," she repeated, her voice warm but professional. Most passengers barely glanced at her, focused on finding their seats and stowing their luggage. The first-class cabin filled quickly with business travelers in expensive suits typing furiously on their phones before the inevitable request to switch to airplane mode. Lisa noticed the passenger for seat 3C, a middle-aged black man who moved slowly, his face drawn with fatigue. He wore a baseball cap that didn't quite hide his lack of hair, and a medical bracelet glinted on his wrist as he showed his boarding pass. "Good morning, sir. That's 3C, just on your right," Lisa directed with a smile. The man nodded politely, but didn't return the smile. He seemed to be conserving energy, each movement deliberate as he settled into his seat. Lisa made another mental note to ensure his special meal was served promptly. As the economy passengers continued to board, Lisa helped an elderly couple find their seats and assisted a mother traveling alone with twin toddlers. The usual pre-departure chaos unfolded. Passengers trying to fit oversized bags into the overhead compartments, others insisting on sitting together despite having separate seat assignments, the inevitable last-minute bathroom visits. By 8:25 a.m., the doors were closed, and the safety demonstration began. Lisa demonstrated the use of seatbelts, oxygen masks, and life vests with robotic precision, having performed these motions thousands of times before. Few passengers paid attention, most absorbed in magazines, books, or final text messages before takeoff. At 8:40 a.m., slightly behind schedule, the massive jet lifted off the runway and banked west toward Los Angeles. Lisa felt the familiar sensation of her stomach dropping slightly during ascent, a feeling that had never quite disappeared even after all these years of flying. Once they reached cruising altitude, the cabin crew began preparations for the meal service. In first class, this meant individual attention and multiple options served on actual plates rather than the prepackaged meals in economy. "We're running a bit low on the special meals," Patricia mentioned as they prepared the carts in the galley. "Make sure they go to the right passengers. We've got that low-sodium soft food for 3C, Dr. Williams, according to the manifest." "Dr. Williams," Lisa repeated, committing the name to memory. "I noticed him boarding. He doesn't look well." "Cancer patient?" Patricia said quietly. "Customer service mentioned he's flying home after treatment in New York. Let's make sure he's comfortable." Lisa felt a twinge of sympathy. She'd seen many passengers over the years traveling for medical treatment, their discomfort evident in the confined space of an airplane cabin. The pressurized air, limited movement, and noise could make an already difficult situation unbearable. As Lisa began the meal service in first class, offering hot towels and taking drink orders, she observed Dr. Williams more carefully. His eyes were closed, but he wasn't sleeping. His hands rested on the armrests, fingers occasionally twitching. The overhead lights seemed to bother him, as he kept adjusting his cap to shield his eyes. "Good morning, Dr. Williams," Lisa said softly when she reached his seat. "Can I offer you something to drink before your meal?" Dr. Williams opened his eyes slowly. "Just water, please. No ice." "Of course. And I see you've ordered a special meal. It should be ready shortly." "Thank you," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "The food helps with the nausea after treatment." Lisa nodded sympathetically. "I'll make sure you get it right away." As she continued through the cabin, Lisa kept one eye on the galley, waiting for the meal carts to be fully prepared. The flight was experiencing mild turbulence, which always slowed down service. Passengers were becoming restless, the mornings, coffee wearing off and hunger setting in. When Lisa returned to the galley to collect the prepared meals, she noticed a commotion. Two of the newer flight attendants, both in their 20s and still learning the ropes, were arguing over the meal cart. "What's going on?" Lisa asked, keeping her voice low to avoid being overheard by passengers. "We're missing 3 special meals," one of them explained. "Catering messed up. We've got 2 vegetarian and 1 gluten-free short." Lisa felt a surge of frustration. Catering errors were common but always created problems. "What about the low-sodium soft food for 3C? The young flight attendant checked the cart. "It's here, but what?" "Well, if we're short on meals, should we be holding this one back? It's so specific. Maybe he could eat something else, and we could use this for one of the vegetarian passengers." Lisa stared at her in disbelief. "No, absolutely not. That meal goes to Dr. Williams as ordered. He's undergoing cancer treatment and needs that specific meal. Find alternatives for the others. Offer them regular meals with the vegetable option or something from business class." The younger attendant looked chastened but still uncertain. I just thought, that meal goes to 3C, Lisa repeated firmly. I'll take it to him myself. Lisa placed the specially packaged meal on a tray, added utensils wrapped in a cloth napkin, and a glass of water without ice as requested. As she carried it carefully through the cabin, navigating the narrow aisle with practiced ease despite the occasional bump of turbulence, she thought about Dr. Williams and the countless other passengers she'd served over the years, each with their own story, their own reason for being on her flight. This, she reminded herself, was why she had become a flight attendant in the first place, not just to see the world, but to care for people during their journeys, whatever those journeys might be. Today, her job was to make Dr. Williams's difficult trip a little easier, one small kindness at a time. As she approached seat 3C, Lisa saw that Dr. Williams had reclined his seat slightly and closed his eyes again. For a moment, she considered letting him rest. But remembering his comment about the food helping with nausea, she gently got his attention. Dr. Williams? I have your meal ready. He opened his eyes and slowly brought his seat back to the upright position. Thank you, he said, genuine gratitude in his tired voice as Lisa carefully placed the tray on his table. Is there anything else I can get for you? She asked. Dr. Williams shook his head. This is perfect. I appreciate your help. As Lisa moved on to serve the other passengers, she felt a small sense of satisfaction. In the often thankless job of airline service, these moments, when she could make a real difference to someone's comfort and well-being, made the early mornings, difficult passengers, and endless hours on her feet worthwhile. Little did she know that within the next hour, her 15-year career would hang in the balance, all because of a decision about who would receive a meal on this routine cross-country flight. The meal service continued smoothly through the first-class cabin as Lisa moved from row to row. The gentle hum of the engines provided a constant backdrop to the soft clinks of silverware against china plates and the murmured conversations of passengers. Outside the windows, a vast expanse of cloud stretched below like a fluffy white carpet, occasionally broken by glimpses of farmland and winding rivers. Dr. Williams had managed a few bites of his specially prepared meal, his movements slow but deliberate. Lisa noticed him pausing between mouthfuls, sometimes closing his eyes as if gathering strength. The medical bracelet on his wrist caught the sunlight streaming through the window whenever he lifted his fork. Though she tried not to stare, Lisa couldn't help but feel concern for him. After 15 years in the air, she'd developed an instinct for passengers who were struggling. 2 rows behind Dr. Williams sat Thomas Chen, a tech executive who was a regular on this route. He traveled between New York and Los Angeles so often that several of the flight attendants knew him by name. Thomas had been quietly observing the cabin while working on his laptop. He glanced up occasionally, his attention drawn to Dr. Williams and the evident care with which the man ate his meal. In seat 2A, nearest to the window, sat Rebecca Goldstein, a woman in her 60s with perfectly coiffed silver hair and an array of gold jewelry that jangled softly whenever she moved. She had declined the meal service, instead nursing a tomato juice that she'd requested, with absolutely no ice, in a tone that suggested this was a non-negotiable matter of personal principle. "Miss," Rebecca called out as Lisa passed by her seat, "I need another juice. This one's warm." Lisa turned with a practiced smile. "Of course, ma'am. I'll bring that right away." As Lisa headed back to the galley, she passed Denise, who was working the economy section. Denise raised her eyebrows in a silent message that conveyed both exhaustion and solidarity. "How's it going back there?" Lisa asked quietly. "The usual chaos," Denise replied with a sigh. "We're short on chicken meals, and 14B is already on his 3rd scotch. Oh, and we've got a kid in 28C who's been kicking the seat in front of him for the last hour." Lisa offered a sympathetic nod. "Let me know if you need backup. First class is relatively calm today." In the galley, Lisa prepared a fresh tomato juice for Rebecca, making sure to leave out the ice as requested. As she arranged the drink on a small tray, she noticed that the special meals cart had been moved. A flutter of concern passed through her as she quickly checked the remaining contents. There were still several special meals left, including 2 more of the low-sodium soft food options like the one she'd given to Dr. Williams. Just then, Maria Alvarez, one of the newer flight attendants, entered the galley. At 24, Maria was still learning the ropes, eager but sometimes overwhelmed by the demands of the job. "Hey, Lisa," Maria greeted her. "Patricia asked me to check how many special meals we have left. We've got some requests in economy that weren't on the manifest." Lisa gestured to the cart. "There are still a few. What kind do you need?" "2 vegetarian and 1 gluten-free," Maria replied, checking her notes. "And we're completely out of chicken, in economy. It's becoming a whole thing back there." "Take what you need from here," Lisa said. "But make sure to leave at least one of the low-sodium soft food options. We might need it later for our passenger in 3C. Maria looked confused. "But didn't you already serve him?" "Yes, but sometimes cancer patients can't eat much at once. He might need something later in the flight," Lisa explained patiently. "Just make sure to leave one, okay?" Maria nodded, though she seemed distracted by a call from another flight attendant. Further back in the plane, she grabbed several meals from the cart and hurried away, leaving Lisa with Rebecca's tomato juice and a nagging feeling that she should double-check the remaining meals before returning to the cabin. A quick glance confirmed that Maria had taken several meals but had indeed left one of the low-sodium options. Satisfied, Lisa picked up the tray with Rebecca's drink and made her way back to the first-class cabin. As she passed Dr. Williams' seat, she noticed that he had barely touched the rest of his meal. His eyes were closed again, his breathing measured, but shallow. Lisa hesitated, wondering if she should ask if everything was all right with the food, but decided to let him rest. Cancer treatment was exhausting. Perhaps he needed sleep more than food at the moment. After delivering Rebecca's tomato juice and receiving a barely audible "thank you" in return, Lisa continued her rounds, collecting empty plates and responding to requests for coffee and tea. The flight was progressing smoothly, already 2 hours into the 6-hour journey to Los Angeles. It was as Lisa was refilling Thomas Chen's coffee cup that she noticed Dr. Williams pressing the call button, the small light above his seat illuminated, accompanied by a soft chime that only the flight attendants were trained to listen for amidst the aircraft's ambient noise. "Excuse me," Lisa said to Thomas, carefully placing the coffee pot back on. "It's Trey." She made her way to Dr. Williams' seat, noting that he looked even more tired than before, a light sheen of sweat visible on his forehead despite the cabin's cool temperature. "Dr. Williams, how can I help you?" she asked, leaning slightly, to hear his soft voice. "I'm sorry to bother you," he began, each word measured, "but I'm feeling quite nauseous. Is there any chance I could get a little more of that special meal? Just the plain rice portion might help settle my stomach." Lisa nodded immediately. "Of course. I made sure we kept one aside for you. I'll bring it right away." Relief flickered across Dr. Williams' face. "Thank you. I appreciate your thoughtfulness." Lisa hurried back to the galley, already planning how she would serve just the rice portion of the meal to make it easier for him to manage. But when she reached the special meals cart, her heart sank. The remaining low-sodium soft food option was gone. Lisa checked again, moving aside other meal containers, thinking perhaps it had been shifted during turbulence. But there was no doubt. The meal she had specifically asked Maria to leave was no longer there. For a moment, Lisa stood frozen in the galley, a sense of dread washing over her. She had promised Dr. Williams, a cancer patient clearly in need, that she had saved a meal for him, and now that promise couldn't be kept. In her 15 years as a flight attendant, Lisa had developed a deep sense of responsibility toward her passengers, particularly those with special needs. This wasn't just about customer service, it was about basic human compassion. Taking a deep breath, Lisa decided to check with the other flight attendants before returning to Dr. Williams. She found Patricia supervising the meal service in business class. "Patricia, did anyone take the last low-sodium soft food meal from the first-class galley?" Lisa asked, trying to keep the urgency out of her voice. Patricia looked up from her tablet. "I don't think so." "Wasn't Maria checking the special meals?" "Yes, but I specifically told her to leave one for Dr. Williams in 3C. He's asking for more now, and it's gone." Patricia frowned. "Check with Maria. She might have taken it for one of the passengers in economy. Lisa made her way through the narrow aisle to the back of the plane where she found Maria, helping an elderly passenger with a blanket. "Maria," Lisa said as soon as the younger flight attendant was free. "The low-sodium soft food meal I asked you to save. Did you take it?" Maria's expression shifted from confusion to realization, then to dismay. "Oh no, I think I did." There was a man in economy who was making a huge fuss about not getting his vegetarian meal. He was being really loud and disturbing everyone around him. I remembered we had extra special meals, so I gave him one of them. "Was that the one you wanted to save?" Lisa felt a flare of frustration but kept her voice level. "Yes, that was the one I asked you to leave for Dr. Williams. He's undergoing cancer treatment and now he's feeling nauseous. He's asking for more of that specific meal." Maria's face fell. "I'm so sorry, Lisa, I completely forgot. This guy in economy was just being so demanding, and Patricia always says we need to keep the peace in the cabin." "It's done now," Lisa said, cutting her off. "I need to figure out what to offer Dr. Williams instead." As Lisa turned to head back to the first-class galley, Maria called after her. "Wait, what about the crew meals? Maybe there's something there he could have?" It wasn't a bad suggestion. The crew meals were simple but included plain options that might work. "Good idea. I'll check." In the crew area, Lisa quickly looked through their meals. There was some plain white rice that might be suitable, though it wasn't prepared with the same low-sodium standards as Dr. Williams' special meal. It was the best alternative she could find on short notice. With the small container of rice in hand, Lisa returned to the first-class cabin. Dr. Williams was still in his seat, eyes closed, but he wasn't sleeping. His fingers drummed lightly on the armrest, a subtle sign of his discomfort. "Dr. Williams," Lisa said gently as she approached, "I'm very sorry, but it seems there was a mix-up with the meals. The extra special meal I had set aside for you was mistakenly given to another passenger." Dr. Williams opened his eyes, disappointment evident in his gaze. "I've brought you some plain white rice from our crew meals," Lisa continued, showing him the container. "It's not prepared to the same low-sodium specifications as your special meal, but it might help with the nausea if you'd like to try it." "Doctor," Williams looked at the offered container, then back at Lisa. "Is there any way to check if it has added salt? My doctors have been very strict about my sodium intake during treatment." Lisa hesitated. "I don't have the exact nutritional information. These meals aren't labeled the same way as passenger meals." "I see," Dr. Williams said quietly. "I appreciate your effort, but I think I'd better not risk it. My body is very sensitive right now, and even small amounts of sodium can cause problems with my medication." Lisa felt a wave of guilt wash over her. "I'm truly sorry, Dr. Williams. Is there anything else I can offer you? Some herbal tea, perhaps, or plain crackers? Some ginger ale might help if you have it. No ice, please." "Of course, right away," Lisa assured him, turning to head back to the galley. As she walked away, she became aware of Thomas Chen watching the interaction from his seat. His expression was unreadable, but he had definitely been paying attention to the exchange. In the galley, Lisa prepared the ginger ale, carefully pouring it over a napkin-covered cup to reduce the carbonation that might further upset Dr. Williams' stomach. As she worked, Patricia joined her. "Everything okay?" Patricia asked, noting Lisa's concerned expression. "Not really," Lisa admitted. "The last special meal for Dr. Williams was given to someone in economy, and now he's feeling nauseous with nothing appropriate to eat." Patricia frowned. "That's not good. He's paying a premium for first class and he has a medical need." "I know. I'm bringing him ginger ale now, but I feel terrible about the meal situation." "Who gave away his meal?" Patricia asked. Lisa hesitated, reluctant to throw Maria under the bus. There was a mix-up with the special meals distribution. Patricia's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing there was more to the story, but she didn't press the issue. "Make sure Dr. Williams is comfortable. I'll see if I can find something suitable for him in business class." Lisa nodded and returned to Dr. Williams with the ginger ale. He accepted it with a weak smile, but Lisa could tell he was still uncomfortable. The cabin lights had been dimmed slightly to allow passengers to rest or watch their screens. casting shadows that accentuated the tiredness in Dr. Williams's face. "Thank you," he said, taking a small sip. "I don't mean to be difficult. This treatment round has been particularly hard." "You're not being difficult at all," Lisa assured him. "I'm the one who should apologize. We should have been better prepared." Dr. Williams shook his head slightly. "It happens. Not the first time I've had to deal with challenges while traveling." Something in his tone made Lisa wonder if he was referring to more than just meal mix-ups, but before she could respond, she noticed Thomas Chen raising his hand to get her attention. "Excuse me," Thomas said as Lisa approached his seat. "I couldn't help overhearing about the gentleman's meal situation. I'm not going to eat my dessert. It's just fresh fruit with no added sugar or anything. Maybe he could have it?" Lisa felt a rush of gratitude for Thomas's thoughtfulness. "That's very kind of you, sir. Let me ask if that might work for him." Dr. Williams considered the offer when Lisa presented it. "That's very generous. Please thank the gentleman for me. Fresh fruit would actually be perfect." As Lisa retrieved the fruit plate from Thomas and brought it to Dr. Williams, she noticed Rebecca Goldstein watching the exchange with interest. The older woman's gaze followed Lisa as she moved through the cabin, her expression calculating. "Everything all right with that man?" Rebecca asked when Lisa passed by her seat again. "He doesn't look well." "He's managing a medical condition, ma'am," Lisa replied diplomatically. "We're doing our best to make him comfortable." Rebecca sniffed. "Well, I hope it's nothing contagious. The air circulation on these planes is terrible, you know." Lisa gave a tight smile. "There's no need for concern, ma'am. Would you like another beverage?" "No, I'm fine for now," Rebecca replied, returning to her magazine. As Lisa continued her duties in the first-class cabin, she kept an eye on Dr. Williams, who was slowly eating small pieces of fruit. He seemed to be doing a bit better, though. His movements remained careful and measured. What Lisa didn't notice was that Rebecca had taken out her phone and, despite the aircraft rules about not filming other passengers, was discreetly recording Dr. Williams and the interactions surrounding him. Her fingers moved quickly over the screen as she typed a message to accompany the video. Meanwhile, at the back of the plane, Maria was explaining the special meal situation to Denise. "I really messed up," Maria admitted. "Lisa specifically told me to save that meal, and I completely forgot when that guy in 34D started making a scene." Denise shrugged. "Don't beat yourself up too much. These things happen. Just make sure you apologize to Lisa properly. She takes her responsibilities very seriously, especially when it comes to passengers with medical needs." "I will," Maria promised. "Do you think I should tell Patricia what happened?" Denise considered this. "Probably. Better she hears it from you than figures it out later. She doesn't like surprises." Unaware of these conversations, Lisa was in the first-class galley preparing for the mid-flight snack service when she felt the aircraft hit a pocket of turbulence. The plane dipped slightly, causing the beverage cart to rattle. Lisa steadied herself against the counter, waiting for the bumpy air to pass. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Folks, we're hitting a bit of rough air as we cross over the Rockies. I've turned on the fasten seatbelt sign, so please return to your seats and keep those belts fastened. Flight attendants, please suspend service and secure the cabin." Lisa quickly secured the galley equipment and made her way back into the cabin to check that all passengers were following the captain's instructions. As she passed Dr. Williams' seat, she noticed he was looking even more uncomfortable, his complexion taking on a grayish tinge. "Dr. Williams, are you all right?" she asked, genuinely concerned. He swallowed hard before answering. "Just the turbulence makes the nausea worse. Is there anything I can get you? A sick bag, perhaps?" He nodded gratefully, and Lisa quickly retrieved one from the seat pocket in front of him, opening it discreetly. "Just try to take deep breaths," she advised gently. "The rough air should pass soon." As Lisa continued checking the cabin, making sure all passengers were secured, she felt a growing sense of unease. The situation with Dr. Williams' meal had been mishandled, and now he was suffering the consequences. What had started as a routine cross-country flight was becoming increasingly complicated, and somewhere in the back of her mind, Lisa had the distinct feeling that this wasn't going to end well. The turbulence gradually subsided, the planes shuddering, giving way to the steady hum of engines that had become as familiar to Lisa as her own heartbeat. The captain's voice crackled through the cabin, announcing that they had cleared the rough air and the seatbelt sign would be turned off momentarily. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the first-class cabin as passengers adjusted in, their seats, some returning to their interrupted movies, others stretching carefully in the limited space. Dr. Williams still looked unwell, clutching the sick bag Lisa had given him, though thankfully he hadn't needed to use it. His eyes were closed, his breathing deliberate, in through the nose, out through the mouth, the universal rhythm of someone fighting nausea. Lisa approached his seat once more, concern etched on her face. "Dr. Williams," she said softly, "is there anything else I can do to help you feel more comfortable?" He opened his eyes slowly, the effort visible. "Some cool water, perhaps, and—" He hesitated. "I hate to ask, but is there any chance of finding something else I could eat? Something plain? The fruit helped a little, but I should really take my medication with something more substantial." Lisa felt a renewed surge of guilt. "Of course. Let me see what I can find for you right away." As she turned to head back to the galley, Lisa noticed Rebecca Goldstein watching her intently from across the aisle, her phone now conspicuously in her hand. The older woman didn't even attempt to hide her interest in the situation, her heavily ringed fingers tapping away at the screen. Something about Rebecca's scrutiny made Lisa uneasy, but she pushed the feeling aside, focusing instead on finding something suitable for Dr. Williams. In the galley, Lisa searched through the available options. The regular first-class meals wouldn't work. They were all prepared with generous amounts of salt and seasoning. The crew meals were similarly unsuitable. She was considering asking the business class attendants again when Patricia entered the galley. "How's Dr. Williams doing?" Patricia asked, her voice low. "Not great," Lisa admitted. "The turbulence made his nausea worse and he needs to take medication with food, but I can't find anything appropriate for him to eat." Patricia's brow furrowed. "This is becoming a real issue. I checked with business class and they don't have any suitable options either." She hesitated, then added, "Lisa, what exactly happened with his special meal? I get the feeling you're not telling me everything." Lisa sighed, knowing she couldn't avoid the conversation any longer. "Maria took the extra meal I had specifically set aside for Dr. Williams. There was a passenger in economy making a fuss about not getting a vegetarian option, and she gave him Dr. Williams's meal without checking with me first." Patricia's expression hardened. "That's unacceptable. We have clear protocols for special meals, especially for passengers with medical needs. I'll deal with Maria later, but right now we need to solve this immediate problem." Just then, Denise appeared in the galley doorway. "Everything okay up here? We felt that turbulence all the way in the back." "We're dealing with a situation," Patricia explained briefly. "Dr. Williams in 3C needs appropriate food for his medication, and we've run out of his special meal." Denise thought for a moment. "What about the pilot's meals? They usually get the same special options as first class, just in case any passengers with allergies or medical needs come up short." Lisa and Patricia exchanged looks. Neither had considered this possibility. "That's actually a good idea," Patricia said. "Let me check with the captain." While Patricia went to the cockpit, Lisa prepared a fresh glass of cool water for Dr. Williams. As she was about to return to the cabin, Maria appeared looking anxious. "Lisa, I just wanted to apologize again," she began. "I feel terrible about the mix-up with Dr. Williams's meal." Lisa's initial frustration had mellowed into resigned acceptance. "It's a learning experience, Maria. Next time double-check before giving away a meal that's been specifically set aside." Maria nodded earnestly. "I will, I promise. Is there anything I can do to help now?" "Just keep an eye on the call buttons. I need to bring this water to Dr. Williams, and Patricia's checking with the pilots about their meals." As Lisa returned to the first-class cabin, she noticed an unusual level of activity among the passengers. Several were looking at their phones, despite the limited in-flight Wi-Fi that rarely supported more than basic email and messaging. Thomas Chen caught her eye and gave her a concerned look, nodding slightly toward Rebecca Goldstein. Lisa delivered the water to Dr. Williams, who accepted it gratefully. Patricia is checking on some additional food options for you, she assured him. It shouldn't be much longer. Thank you, he replied, his voice stronger than before. I appreciate all your efforts. As Lisa turned away, she heard Rebecca's voice, deliberately loud enough to carry. I just don't understand why they can't properly accommodate a passenger with medical needs. Especially in first class, it's outrageous. The comment was clearly meant to be overheard, and Lisa felt her cheeks flush. She was about to respond when Thomas cut in smoothly. I think the flight attendants are doing their best in a difficult situation, he said calmly. These things happen sometimes, even with the best planning. Rebecca sniffed dismissively. Well, my followers certainly have opinions about it. The video's already got hundreds of views. Lisa froze. Video? Ma'am, I need to remind you that filming other passengers without their consent is against airline policy. Rebecca waved her hand dismissively. I'm not filming him. I'm documenting a service failure. There's a difference. Before Lisa could respond, she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Patricia, her expression grim. Lisa, I need to speak with you privately, Patricia said, her voice professionally neutral, but with an underlying tension that Lisa recognized immediately. In the galley, Patricia closed the curtain before speaking. The captain had a spare meal that would have worked for Dr. Williams, but that's not our biggest problem right now. The purser just called from the ground. Apparently there's a video circulating on social media showing our interaction with Dr. Williams. It shows you telling him his meal was given to someone else, and it's being framed as, well, as racial discrimination. Lisa felt as though the floor had dropped away beneath her feet. What? That's absurd. This was a mix-up with the special meals, not that. I know, Patricia said quickly. But the video doesn't show the whole story. It's just a short clip of you telling Dr. Williams his meal was given to someone else and him looking visibly ill. The caption is something like black cancer patient denied food on Atlantic Airways flight while white passengers are served. But that's not what happened, Lisa protested, her voice rising. I served Dr. Williams his meal first. The mix-up was with the second portion and it had nothing to do with his race. I believe you, Patricia assured her. But the video is gaining traction, and the airline is concerned about the optics. They're asking for a full report on the incident. Lisa's mind raced. 15 years of spotless service, and now this. A misrepresented situation threatening her reputation and possibly her career. What should I do? First, let's get that meal to Dr. Williams. Then I need you to write down exactly what happened, with timestamps if possible. I'll speak with Maria to get her account as well. Lisa nodded, trying to focus on the immediate task rather than the churning anxiety in her stomach. Patricia unwrapped the captain's spare meal, a simple rice and steamed vegetable dish with grilled chicken, prepared without added salt, and arranged it on a plate. Here, she said, handing it to Lisa. Take this to Dr. Williams, and then I want you to take your break. I'll handle the cabin for a while. Lisa carried the plate carefully back to Dr. Williams, aware of the eyes following her progress through the cabin. Rebecca Goldstein was still on her phone, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the screen as she typed. Thomas Chen gave Lisa an encouraging nod, his expression sympathetic. Dr. Williams, Lisa said, placing the plate on his tray table. We've found a suitable meal for you. It's from the captain's personal supply, prepared without added sodium and with plain, easily digestible ingredients. Dr. Williams looked genuinely surprised. The captain gave up his meal for me? Yes, Lisa confirmed. He was happy to help once he heard about the situation. For the first time since boarding, Dr. Williams smiled, a small, tired smile, but genuine nonetheless. Please thank him for me. That's incredibly kind. As Dr. Williams began to eat slowly, Lisa felt a momentary relief that was quickly overshadowed by the knowledge of what was happening online. How could a simple meal mix-up have spiraled into accusations of discrimination? She had always prided herself on treating all passengers with equal respect and consideration, regardless of their background. Lisa made her way back to the crew rest area, her thoughts in turmoil. She had just sat down when Denise appeared, concern written all over her face. Lisa, what's going on? Patricia just told me to take over your section and said something about a video. Lisa explained the situation in a hushed voice, still trying to process it herself. It's completely distorted, Denise. You know I would never discriminate against anyone. Of course I know that, Denise said firmly. Anyone who's worked with you knows that. This is just social media insanity. Things get taken out of context and blow up before anyone has a chance to explain. But what if people believe it? What if the airline believes it? Lisa's voice trembled slightly, the stress of the situation. Finally breaking through her professional composure, Denise squeezed her shoulder. The airline knows your record, and there are plenty of witnesses who saw what really happened. That businessman in 2B, for one. He was watching the whole thing, and he seemed supportive. Thomas Chen, Lisa supplied. He's a regular on this route. See? He'll back up your version of events, and so will the rest of the crew. Lisa tried to take comfort in Denise's reassurance, but the knot in her stomach remained. She took out her tablet and began documenting the events as Patricia had requested, trying to recall each detail with precision. The meal service, her conversation with Maria, the discovery that the extra meal was gone, her efforts to find alternatives for Dr. Williams. She wrote it all down, including timestamps where she could remember them. Meanwhile, back in the first-class cabin, Dr. Williams had finished about half of his meal and taken his medication. He looked more comfortable now, the food and medication beginning to ease his discomfort. Patricia approached his seat, introducing herself as the head flight attendant. Dr. Williams, I wanted to personally apologize for the confusion with your meal earlier. Is there anything else we can do to make the remainder of your flight more comfortable? Dr. Williams shook his head. Thank you, but I'm feeling better now. The meal helped, and my medication should start working soon. Patricia nodded. I'm glad to hear that. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. As Patricia moved away, Rebecca Goldstein caught her attention. Excuse me, but I think you should know that your flight attendant's treatment of that gentleman has caused quite a stir online. People are very upset about it. Patricia fixed Rebecca with a level gaze. Ma'am, are you referring to the video you took without permission, in violation of our passenger conduct policy? Rebecca had the grace to look momentarily flustered, but quickly recovered. I was simply documenting a concerning situation. The public has a right to know when companies fail to meet basic standards of service and equality. What the public doesn't have is the complete context, Patricia replied calmly. And filming other passengers without their consent is explicitly prohibited in our terms of service, which you agreed to when purchasing your ticket. Are you threatening me? Rebecca's voice rose slightly. Not at all. I'm simply informing you of our policies. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to attend to our other passengers. As Patricia moved away, Thomas Chen caught her eye and gave her a subtle thumbs up. He had overheard the exchange and appreciated Patricia's professional handling of the situation. In the crew rest area, Lisa had finished her written account of the events. Reading it over, she felt confident that it accurately reflected what had happened. There had been no discrimination, just a series of unfortunate circumstances and a communication error between crew members. Surely once the airline reviewed all the facts, they would understand. Just as she was about to return to the cabin, her tablet pinged with a message from the ground. It was from the airline's social media response team, requesting that she call them immediately using the aircraft's communication system. Lisa's heart sank. This was escalating faster than she had anticipated. In the cockpit, Lisa used the secure line to call the number provided. The social media manager on the other end sounded harried and spoke quickly. Lisa, I'm going to be straight with you. This video is gaining serious traction. It's been shared thousands of times in the last hour, and several major news outlets have picked it up. We need to get ahead of this. But it's not what it looks like, Lisa protested. I've written a full account of what actually happened. That's good, we'll need that. But right now, we need you to be aware that there will likely be media waiting. When you land in Los Angeles, don't engage with them. The airline will issue an official statement. Lisa felt dizzy. Media? This is that serious? Unfortunately, yes. The hashtag #FlyingWhileBlack is trending, and your name has been identified in some of the posts. The reality of the situation hit Lisa like a physical blow. Her name was out there, attached to accusations of racial discrimination. Even if the airline eventually cleared her, the court of public opinion moved much faster, and the damage to her reputation could be irreparable. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Focus on completing the flight safely. Don't discuss the situation with passengers, even if they bring it up. Refer any questions to the airline's official channels. When you land, you'll be met by a representative from HR who will guide you through the next steps." Next steps. The phrase hung ominously in the air after Lisa ended the call. What exactly would those next steps entail? An investigation? Suspension? Worse? As she made her way back to the first-class cabin, Lisa felt as though she were moving underwater, everything slightly distorted and slower than normal. Patricia gave her a questioning look, and Lisa shook her head slightly, indicating they would talk later. Dr. Williams appeared to be resting comfortably now, his meal tray cleared away, his seat reclined slightly. He opened his eyes as Lisa passed, and something in her expression must have conveyed her distress because his brow furrowed with concern. "Are you all right?" he asked, surprising Lisa with his perceptiveness despite his own discomfort. "Yes, thank you," Lisa replied automatically, the professional response ingrained after years of service. "Can I get you anything else?" Dr. Williams studied her face for a moment. "No, I'm fine now, but something's wrong, isn't it?" "Is it about what happened with the meal?" Lisa hesitated, unsure how much to say. Dr. Williams was at the center of the situation, yet he seemed to have no idea of the storm swirling around them online. Should she tell him? Would that make things better or worse? Before she could decide, Rebecca Goldstein's voice cut through her thoughts. "Excuse me, but I'd like to order a champagne. Since we're already halfway to Los Angeles, I might as well enjoy myself." The moment passed and Lisa moved to fulfill Rebecca's request, her mind still racing with the implications of what was unfolding. As she poured the champagne at the galley, she caught sight of her reflection in the metal surface of the refrigerator. Still the same Lisa Harrison who had boarded this flight this morning. Still the same dedicated professional she had always been, yet somehow everything had changed. The remaining hours of the flight stretched before her like an eternity, each minute bringing them closer to Los Angeles, and whatever awaited her there. Lisa took a deep breath, straightened her uniform, and picked up the champagne flute. Whatever happened next, she would face it with the same dignity and professionalism she had brought to this job for 15 years. What she didn't know yet was that the next 6 minutes after landing would change the course of her life forever. The final hour of the flight passed in a haze for Lisa. She went through the motions of her duties, collecting trash, preparing the cabin for landing, checking that all passengers had their seats upright and tray tables stowed. But her mind was elsewhere, caught in a storm of worry about what awaited her in Los Angeles. The aircraft began its descent, the gentle downward tilt, barely noticeable except for the subtle popping of ears and the changing quality of light through the windows as they dropped below the scattered cloud cover. The sprawling expanse of Los Angeles came into view, a vast grid of streets and buildings stretching toward the mountains on one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our final approach into Los Angeles International Airport," the captain's voice announced over the intercom. "Local time is 11:42 a.m., and the weather is clear and sunny, with a temperature of 75 degrees. On behalf of Atlantic Airways and your flight crew, I'd like to thank you for flying with us today. We should be at the gate in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Lisa's heart hammered in her chest. 20 minutes, until she would have to face whatever consequences had been set in motion by Rebecca Goldstein's video. Patricia approached her in the galley where Lisa was securing the last of the service items. "The purser called again," Patricia said quietly. "There's going to be a meeting as soon as we land. They want to see you, me, and Maria in the crew room immediately after deplaning." Lisa nodded, her mouth too dry to speak. This was moving even faster than she had feared. "Listen to me," Patricia continued, placing a hand on Lisa's arm. I've already sent them my account of what happened, and I made it very clear that there was no discrimination involved. This was a simple mix-up with the special meals, nothing more. Thank you, Lisa managed to say. But if they've already decided... Don't think like that, Patricia interrupted firmly. You've got 15 years of excellent service behind you. That counts for something. Lisa wished she could share Patricia's confidence, but the knot in her stomach only tightened as the plane made its final approach. The gentle bump as the wheels touched down, usually a moment of satisfaction marking another successful flight, now felt like the closing of a trap. As the aircraft taxied toward the gate, Lisa could see several news vans parked near the terminal building, their satellite dishes extending upward like curious periscopes. So the social media manager hadn't been exaggerating. The media really was waiting. The seatbelt sign dinged off, and passengers immediately began reaching for their belongings, the familiar rustle and shuffle of deplaning filling the cabin. Lisa stood by the first-class exit door, her professional smile fixed in place despite the turmoil inside. Thank you for flying with us today, she repeated to each passenger as they filed past, the words automatic after years of practice. Rebecca Goldstein paused briefly as she passed. I hope the airline takes appropriate action, she said, her voice pitched just loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. Customer service should be a priority, especially for those with medical needs. Lisa maintained her smile, though it felt like her face might crack from the effort. Thank you for flying. With us, ma'am. Have a nice day. Thomas Chen was one of the last to leave first class. He stopped in front of Lisa, speaking quietly. I saw what really happened. That woman's video doesn't tell the whole story. If you need a witness, here's my card. I fly this route every week, and I've always found your service to be excellent and completely professional. Lisa took the business card, touched by his support. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I appreciate that more than you know. As the business and economy passengers began to deplane, Lisa noticed Dr. Williams gathering his things slowly, clearly still conserving his energy. He had declined pre-boarding assistance when they landed, insisting he could manage on his own. When he reached the door where Lisa stood, he paused. I wanted to thank you for your help today, he said. Despite the mix-up with the meal, you did your best to accommodate my needs, and I appreciate that. Lisa felt a surge of emotion, gratitude, for his understanding and a desperate hope that his perspective could help clear her name. Thank you, Dr. Williams. I'm truly sorry about the confusion with your meals. He smiled slightly. These things happen. I've faced much worse challenges during my treatment. He hesitated, then added, though I must admit I was surprised when the meal was given to someone else after you'd promised it would be saved for me. It felt, well, it's not the first time I've been overlooked. Before Lisa could respond, a middle-aged man in a suit appeared at the aircraft door. Dr. Williams, I'm Robert Keating from Atlantic Airways Customer Relations. We'd like to speak with you briefly if you have a moment. Dr. Williams looked surprised but nodded. Of course. Lisa watched as Robert escorted Dr. Williams away, their conversation already beginning as they walked up the jet bridge. Her stomach churned with anxiety. The airline was gathering statements, building their case. But which way would it go? As the last passengers departed, Lisa began her usual post-flight checks of the cabin, working on autopilot while her mind raced. Maria approached her looking miserable. Lisa, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I told Patricia everything. How you specifically asked me to save that meal and I forgot. I'll make sure they know you did nothing wrong. Lisa managed a wan smile. Thank you, Maria. Let's just get through this meeting and see what happens. The crew finished their post-flight duties in record time, each of them aware of the unusual tension in the air. As they exited the aircraft, Lisa was startled to see two airline representatives waiting in the jet bridge rather than at the gate. Lisa Harrison? One of them asked, a woman in her 40s with a crisp Atlantic Airways uniform and an expression that gave nothing away. Yes, that's me, Lisa confirmed, her mouth suddenly dry. I'm Vanessa Moore, Director of Flight Operations. This is James Taylor from Human Resources. We need to speak with you immediately. The rest of the crew can proceed to the crew room for debriefing. Patricia stepped forward. I'm Patricia Rodriguez, the head flight attendant. I'd like to be present for this conversation. Vanessa's expression didn't change. That won't be necessary, Patricia. We have your written statement already. This matter concerns Lisa directly. Patricia looked like she wanted to argue but thought better of it. She gave Lisa's arm a supportive squeeze before following the rest of the crew toward the terminal. This way, please, Vanessa said, gesturing not toward the terminal but to a small conference room off the jet bridge, typically used for quick crew briefings between flights. Lisa's legs felt leaden as she followed Vanessa and James into the room. Inside, a third person waited, a man in his 50s with silver hair and the unmistakable bearing of upper management. He stood as they entered. Lisa, this is William Davis, our Chief Operating Officer. Vanessa introduced him, confirming Lisa's suspicion that this was indeed serious. The COO wouldn't be involved in a routine incident. Please sit down, William said, his tone carefully neutral. Lisa sank into one of the chairs, her uniform suddenly feeling too tight, constricting. The room was small with no windows, just a table and several chairs. A laptop sat open on the table, its screen dark for now. I understand there was an incident on today's flight involving a passenger in first class, Dr. Keith Williams. William began. Before we discuss that, I want to confirm that you're aware a video of the interaction has been circulating on social media. Lisa nodded. Yes, I was informed during the flight. The video has now been viewed over 3 million times, James from HR said, his voice clinical. It's been picked up by several major news outlets, and the hashtag #Atlantic Airways discrimination is trending nationally. 3 million. The number hit Lisa like a physical blow. 3 million people had seen a distorted, out-of-context snippet of her worst day as a flight attendant and had judged her accordingly. I'd like to explain what actually happened, Lisa began, her voice steadier than she felt. There was a mix-up with the special meals. William held up a hand, cutting her off. We've reviewed several accounts of what happened, including statements from Patricia Rodriguez, Maria Alvarez, and Dr. Williams himself. We've also spoken with other passengers from the first-class cabin. Vanessa reached over and tapped a key on the laptop, turning the screen toward Lisa. It showed a paused video, the now infamous clip, filmed by Rebecca Goldstein. We'd like you to watch this and then tell us if you believe your actions could be perceived as discriminatory. Lisa's throat tightened as Vanessa pressed play. The video began with Lisa standing by Dr. Williams' seat saying, I'm very sorry, but it seems there was a mix-up with the meals. The extra special meal I had set aside for you was mistakenly given to another passenger. The camera zoomed in on Dr. Williams' tired, disappointed face, then panned to show other passengers being served regular meals. Rebecca Goldstein's voice narrated in the background. This black cancer patient was just told his special meal was given to someone else, while the rest of us get our food. He's clearly ill and needs that special diet. I can't believe what I'm seeing. The video ended and Lisa felt sick. Presented this way, stripped of all context, it did look bad. There was no mention of the fact that Dr. Williams had already received his initial meal, no explanation about Maria's mistake, nothing about Lisa's efforts to find alternatives. That video doesn't show the whole story, Lisa said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Dr. Williams had already been served his special meal during the main service. This was about a second portion he requested when he felt nauseous. I had specifically set aside an extra meal for him, but there was a miscommunication, and it was given to another passenger by mistake. By Maria Alvarez, James clarified. She's confirmed this in her statement. Lisa nodded. Yes, she didn't realize. I had reserved that meal specifically for Dr. Williams. And why was Dr. Williams feeling nauseous? William asked, his tone unreadable. He's undergoing cancer treatment, Lisa explained. He mentioned the special meal helps with his nausea after chemotherapy. William and Vanessa exchanged glances. So to be clear, Vanessa said, a passenger who was especially vulnerable due to cancer treatment requested additional food that was medically helpful for his condition, and that food was unavailable because it had been given to someone else. Put that way, it sounded even worse. Yes, but... And this passenger was black, while the passenger who received his meal was white, James added, consulting his notes. That had nothing to do with it, Lisa protested, her composure finally cracking. The passenger's race was completely irrelevant. This was about a mix-up with special meals, nothing more. I believe you, William said, surprising Lisa with his directness. Your record with Atlantic Airways has been exemplary. There's never been any suggestion of discriminatory behavior in your 15 years with us. For a moment, Lisa felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they understood after all. However, William continued, and the hope died as quickly as it had appeared. The public perception of this incident is something we cannot ignore. The video has created a narrative that is deeply damaging to our brand and our values as a company. We pride ourselves on creating an inclusive environment for all passengers, Vanessa added. This incident, regardless of intent, has undermined that commitment in the public eye. Lisa felt her world tilting sideways. So what happens now? James cleared his throat. Atlantic Airways has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind. While we acknowledge there may have been mitigating factors in this case, the outcome was that a vulnerable passenger from a minority background was denied accommodation that was provided to others. In light of this, William said, his voice taking on a formal tone that told Lisa everything she needed to know before he even said the words, we have made the difficult decision to terminate your employment with Atlantic Airways effective immediately. The words hung in the air like smoke, acrid and suffocating. 15 years of service ended in a 6-minute meeting in a windowless room. I don't understand, Lisa stammered, though she did understand. This wasn't about what had actually happened. It was about optics, about the airline protecting itself from the social media firestorm. Don't I deserve a proper investigation? A chance to defend myself? A full investigation will continue, Vanessa assured her, though her tone suggested the outcome was already determined. But given the public nature of this incident and the clarity of the video evidence, immediate action was deemed necessary. The video evidence that shows a fraction of what actually happened, Lisa said bitterly. We understand this is difficult, James said, sliding a folder across the table. This contains information about your final paycheck, continuation of benefits, and the procedure for returning company property. There's also a confidentiality agreement regarding this incident and the terms of your separation. Lisa stared at the folder, but made no move to take it. So that's it? 15 years and I'm dismissed in 6 minutes because of a misleading video? William at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. We appreciate your years of service, Lisa. But in this situation, the company must prioritize its values and public image. What about the truth? Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Doesn't that matter anymore? None of them answered directly. Instead, James pushed the folder closer to her. There's also a severance package outlined. In there. It's generous. 6 months' salary and benefits. We hope this will help with your transition. Hush money, Lisa thought, though she didn't say it aloud. 6 months' salary to quietly disappear and not contest their decision publicly. You should know, Vanessa added, that Dr. Williams himself expressed concern about how he was treated. While he acknowledged your efforts to find alternatives, he did question whether unconscious bias played a role in the initial decision to give his meal to another passenger. This final blow was perhaps the cruelest. The thought that Dr. Williams, who had seemed so understanding on the plane, now believed she might have discriminated against him, sent a wave of despair through Lisa. We'll need your company ID and any other Atlantic Airways property before you leave today, James continued, his tone suggesting this was just routine paperwork rather than the dismantling of Lisa's career and identity. Numbly, Lisa unclipped her ID badge and placed it on the table. Her wings, the gold pins that symbolized her years of service, followed. She had earned those wings, worn them with pride through countless flights, through turbulence and medical emergencies and difficult passengers. Now they lay on the table like discarded trinkets, Is there anything else you'd like to say for the record? Vanessa asked, her pen poised over a notepad. Lisa looked at each of them in turn, William with his executive's discomfort at an unpleasant but necessary task, Vanessa with her professional detachment, James with his HR script and carefully neutral expression. What could she possibly say that would make a difference? I have always treated every passenger with equal respect and consideration, she said, finally, her voice finding strength in the truth of her words. What happened today was a miscommunication, not discrimination. I'm sorry that Dr. Williams felt overlooked. That was never my intention. But I can't apologize for something I didn't do. William nodded, though whether in agreement or merely acknowledgement was unclear. Your statement will be included in the file. You'll be escorted to collect your personal belongings, James added. For security reasons, you won't be permitted to return to the crew areas unaccompanied. Security reasons. As if she were a threat now, a potential saboteur rather than a dedicated employee who had given a decade and a half to this company. Lisa picked up the folder mechanically. There would be time later to read through its contents, to understand exactly what her life would look like now that the career she had built was gone. For now, all she wanted was to get through the next few minutes with whatever dignity she could muster. A security officer was waiting outside the conference room. Ms. Harrison, I'm here to escort you to the crew locker room. Lisa followed him through the terminal, acutely aware of the curious glances from airport staff who recognized her uniform, but not the unusual circumstance of being escorted by security. News traveled fast in airports. By tomorrow, everyone would know. In the crew locker room, Lisa found Patricia waiting, her face drawn with concern. What happened? They wouldn't tell us anything. I've been terminated, Lisa said, the words still feeling unreal as she spoke them. Effective immediately. Patricia's eyes widened in shock. That's ridiculous. They can't do that without a proper investigation. Apparently they can. Lisa opened her locker, pulling out the few personal items she kept there. A spare pair of shoes, a cardigan for cold flights, a small toiletry bag, a framed photo of her and Tom on vacation last year. Such ordinary things now imbued with the extraordinary weight of her changed circumstances. This isn't right, Patricia insisted. The union will fight this. I'll be a witness. We all will. Maria's devastated. She knows this is her mistake. Lisa, close the locker for the last time. Thank you, Patricia. But right now I just want to go home and figure out what happens next. The security officer waited patiently by the door as Lisa changed out of her uniform into the civilian clothes she kept in her locker. The navy blue suit that had been her professional identity for so long was folded carefully and placed in her bag. She wouldn't be needing it anymore. As Lisa walked through the terminal toward the exit, still escorted by security as if she were a criminal, she caught a glimpse of a television in an airport bar. Her own face looked back at her from the screen, a still from Rebecca Goldstein's video. The caption below read, "Flight attendant fired after allegedly discriminating against black cancer patient, 6 minutes." That's all it had taken for 15 years of her life to be erased. 6 minutes in a windowless room, and Lisa Harrison, veteran flight attendant, had become Lisa Harrison, casualty of the social media age, where perception trumped truth and context, was the first victim of viral outrage. Outside the terminal, the California sun was blindingly bright, oblivious to the darkness that had descended on Lisa's world. She stood on the curb, waiting for the rideshare that would take her to the airport hotel where she would spend the night before flying home, as a passenger, not crew, tomorrow. As the car pulled up, Lisa took one last look at the terminal, building where just hours ago she had been a respected professional with a future. Now she was something else entirely, though what exactly remained to be seen. The next chapter of her story was about to begin, shaped by forces she couldn't control, and a truth that few people would ever hear. The hotel room was generic and forgettable, like thousands of others Lisa had stayed in during her years as a flight attendant. But this time was different. This wasn't a layover between flights. It was a limbo between the life she had known and an uncertain future that stretched before her like an empty runway. Lisa sat on the edge of the bed, still, clutching the folder she'd been given during her termination meeting. She hadn't opened it yet. Opening it would make everything real. The end of her career, the smear on her reputation, the sudden void where her professional identity had been. Her phone buzzed relentlessly on the nightstand, notifications piling up faster than she could process them. Text messages from colleagues who had heard the news. Voicemails from Tom growing increasingly worried when she didn't call after landing as she always did. And more ominously, notifications from social media. Tags, mentions, messages from strangers who had seen the video and felt entitled to weigh in on who she was and what she had done. Lisa reached for her phone and called the one person she needed most right now. Tom answered on the first ring. "Lisa, what's going on? I've been trying to reach you for hours." "I'm sorry," she said, her voice catching. I don't even know how to explain it. Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm at the airport hotel in Los Angeles. I'm coming home. Tomorrow, but not as crew." "Tom, I've been fired." The words hung in the air between them. 3,000 miles of silence stretching across the country. "What? Why? What happened?" Tom's voice was a mixture of confusion and protective anger. Lisa took a deep breath and told him everything. The special meal mix-up, Dr. Williams' nausea, Maria's mistake, Rebecca Goldstein's video, and the 6-minute meeting that had ended. Her career. As she spoke, the events of the day seemed to take on an unreal quality, as if she were describing something that had happened to someone else. "This is insane," Tom said when she finished. "They can't fire you for a miscommunication about a meal. There has to be more to it." "There is," Lisa said wearily. "The video went viral. Millions of people have seen it, and it looks like I denied a black cancer patient food while serving white passengers. The airline is in damage control mode. They needed someone to blame, and that someone was me. But that's not what happened. You said yourself he got his meal and the second portion was given away by mistake, by someone else." "The truth doesn't matter," Lisa said, surprising herself with the bitterness in her voice. "What matters is what people believe happened. And right now, people believe I'm a racist who denied food to a sick man because of the color of his skin." Tom was silent for a moment, processing. "We'll fight this," he said finally, determination hardening his voice. "We'll get a lawyer. The union will back you. This isn't right, Lisa." His certainty was comforting, even if Lisa wasn't sure she shared. "Maybe," she said. "I need to read through this folder they gave me. There's a severance offer, 6 months' salary if I sign a confidentiality agreement and don't contest the termination." "Don't sign anything," Tom said immediately. "Not until we've talked to a lawyer. This is wrongful termination, plain and simple." "I'll think about it," Lisa promised. "Right now I just want to come home. My flight's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll text you the details." After they hung up, Lisa finally opened the folder. The documents inside were cold and official. Termination paperwork, benefit information, the confidentiality agreement, and the severance offer. 6 months' salary in exchange for her silence and acceptance. It was both generous and insulting. Lisa set the folder aside and opened her laptop. She knew she shouldn't, but she couldn't help herself. She needed to see what people were saying. The video was easy to find. It had been shared on multiple platforms and embedded in news articles, with headlines like,